Hello, everyone. Now, I know that it's hard to keep up on top of what's going on in the Holy Land, but if you want to know more about what's happening here in Israel, I'm Aaron Porras, and this is the Weekly Review. Israel's latest election cycle, the fourth repeat vote in 2 years, has come to a close, and as early exit polls begin pouring in overnight, major party officials projecting confidence and, in some cases, disbelief.
הערב הבאנו הישג אדיר. הבאנו את הליכוד להיות המפלגה הגדולה בישראל בפער גדול מאוד.
Basically, we're going to wait. We're going to expect to grow, and we believe there's still room for going further.
אנחנו נחכה כמובן לתוצאות האמת, אנחנו היינו אחראים עד עכשיו, נמשיך להיות אחראים.
מה שהיה הוא לא מה שיהיה. בכוח שנתתם לי אפעל רק תחת עיקרון מנחה אחד, מה שטוב לישראל.
בשעה הזו התוצאות עדיין אינן בהירות מספיק, ואני מציע לכולם להתאזר בסבלנות עד לתוצאות האמת. אבל דבר אחד אני יכול להבטיח לכם, אתם, חבריי, ביחד איתי, נמשיך להיאבק על הערכים שלנו ועל אחדות החברה הישראלית.
אין לי ספק ברוך השם, ההישג הזה, תכף נדבר עליו, ננסה להבין אותו. ההישג הזה הוא תוצאה של החיבור הזה, של שלומי אמוני ישראל, ששמים בראש את התורה.
וזה מדהים איך ככה, ממש, פתאום, אנחנו בעולם אחר לגמרי. עולם שמ-0 מנדטים לסקרים, אנחנו בין 6 ל7, טפו טפו, אני מקווה בדרך למעלה. יש לנו שבוע וחצי להספיק הרבה דרך למעלה.
It looks good. What do you say? It looks good. תודה רבה.
Now, meanwhile, as Israel waits for the official results to come out, there's an overflow of speculations over future coalitions based on what we know so far.
I think the polls look good so far, the exit polls, but we know it's very early and we know that it's a fragile majority, and we hope that in a few hours we'll be happier and more secure with the results. But we're optimistic, it looks good so far.
Just 67.2% of eligible voters cast their ballots Tuesday in Israel's fourth repeat election, the lowest voter turnout since 2009. But roughly 90% of the votes have now been tallied, and so far, with the exception of the Likud, which is expected to gain upwards of 30 seats, the numbers are actually quite surprising. The Yesh Atid party is earning fewer than expected with 17, while Blue and White rose to a surprising 8, despite predictions of potentially nothing. Similarly, the extreme right religious Zionism and the Islamist Ram party gained at least 6 and 5 seats respectively, far more than expected, while Yamina and the New Hope parties each fell below expectations with 7 and 6. Then, about as expected, the religious Shas and UTJ took around 9 and 7 seats, followed by Labour and Israel Beitenu with 7 each as well. And finally, Meretz and the Arab Joint List, which both have 6 seats. So who will be in the government, though? Well, despite a very strong result for the right early on, as votes came in, the pro-Netanyahu bloc dropped below the 61 seats necessary for a coalition, meaning hard compromises will have to be made or fifth elections will be assured. And yet, lines are still being drawn. New Hope and Meretz members vowing again this morning never to join a Netanyahu government, and Yesh Atid's Yair Lapid going further.
אבל נכון לרגע זה לא תוקם במדינת ישראל ממשלה על קולותיהם של הכהניסטים, הגזענים והחשוכים. התחלתי כבר הערב לנהל שיחות עם חלק ממנהיגי גוש השינוי. אני כמובן אמשיך בימים הקרובים לנהל איתם את השיחות האלה. אנחנו נחכה, אני אומר שוב, לתוצאות האמת.
Meanwhile, Yamina leader Naftali Bennett, assumed to be the so-called kingmaker, still saying that he'll do whatever is best for the country and to avoid fifth elections. Similarly, Islamist Ram leader Mansour Abbas, increasingly pragmatic, saying that he's willing to negotiate with both sides, anyone interested in forming a government. The Likud, on the other hand, now reaching out to rival parties in light of the numbers, but they're divided on just which parties to include as potential partners, particularly Ram, which might be necessary to reach 61. Perhaps most ironic, though, is that despite Netanyahu's best efforts to renege on the deal, rival Gantz may still end up as prime minister. Their rotation agreement, having never been nullified, would transfer the premier's office to Benny Gantz in November, and the only way for Netanyahu to avoid this, then, is the ratification of a new government now, or the gambling on fifth elections this summer, in unlikely hopes that Gantz loses ground. In other news, today marked International Water Day, and so to celebrate, we sent our very own ILTV crew to the south to see how Israel, despite being an arid country, succeeds in thriving with water, especially in the south, which is made mostly of desert terrain. And we went together with the JNF USA, who, as part of their work, regularly helps these miraculous places. Lauren Izo with the report.
It makes up more than 70% of the Earth and 60% of our bodies. But what happens when water is nearly impossible to come by? Here in Israel, more than half the land area is made up of dry, arid desert. That's why we've had to come up with creative solutions to stay hydrated. Israel is home to some of the most advanced and innovative solutions in water conservation technology. Today, Israel recycles about 85% of its water, the highest in the world, and 50% of the water used for agriculture is a product of recycling. The Halutza communities, once a dry and barren desert, are the embodiment of modern-day pioneering, supported by philanthropic movements like Jewish National Fund USA.
We are using the NFT hydroponics. It's built with a tunnel that you grow inside the greens. It saves water and it gives you advanced growing.
Their investment in cutting-edge water solutions like hydroponic farming has helped Halutza thrive as one of the most successful agricultural communities in the Negev, allowing them to grow exceptional crops that are sold throughout the world. We may be standing in the middle of the desert, but by looking around, you'd never know it. East of Halutza, in Beersheva, the city landscape has been completely transformed into a water city in the Negev desert after a world-class $300 million urban revitalization initiative, also supported by Jewish National Fund USA.
Welcome to the biggest lake in Israel, here in Beersheva. You know, the city of Beersheva, the capital city of the Negev, the metropolis city for over 1 million residents that live here in the area. If you would have told us 10 or 15 years ago that this would happen, nobody would have believed it. I'm a Beersheva, born and raised here, and having this oasis changes the entire experience of actually living here in the Negev.
And it all comes down to this: water recycling. This is the Ramat Aviv Water Treatment Center. This one specifically strengthens the development of sustainable communities in the desert and near the Egyptian border.
We are at the facilities of the Ramat Negev water treatment plant, treating effluents, municipal effluents, from the military camps surrounding us and the villages. Hopefully in the very near future, we shall accommodate much more water effluents coming from other nearby regions. We need the water here.
JNF USA has made it their mission to support Israel's effort to create advanced technology for sustainability and become a global leader in water innovation. The advances in water technology and ecology in Israel have increased the country's water economy by over 15%, and that number is only increasing.
2 decades ago, Israel was dealing with water shortage and droughts, and as part of Jewish National Fund USA's mission to help develop the Negev and Galilee in Israel, water was such a crucial, essential part of our investment. and working together with so many different communities and organizations and researchers and businesses in order to be able to create opportunities to build life here in the Negev, to build life in the north, to be able to create something out of nothing. It all starts with the water. So for us at Jewish National Fund USA, World Water Day is a time where we celebrate and rejoice how far we've come from Israel being a country that was dealing with drought to now recycling over 85% of all of our wastewater.
The value of water is about so much more than just its price. Its importance is undeniable to every country, community, and individual around the world. Lauren Izo, ILTV.
Now finally, Passover is around the corner, and while Israel is on its way out of the pandemic, the effect of the coronavirus is still felt all over the world, especially economically. And that's why this year has seen a dramatic rise in the number of people asking for donations, and charities have been working overtime to meet the demand of those who are down on their luck. So joining us with more from one such company is Shalom Zaidel of Yad Ezra V'Shulamit. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
All right, so my first question is, tell us more about this Passover initiative and how many people are you actually aiming to help?
Yeah, our numbers have exploded exponentially, honestly, frankly, skyrocketed. There's what we call, not only us, but other organizations call the new poor. There are tens of thousands of additional people because of Corona, which we call it, the world calls it COVID, we call it Corona, that have come to our services. We've always served everybody, Aaron, but we're seeing a major increase of all sectors of society, which is from everywhere. The Ethiopian community, Russian community, Holocaust survivors, regular secular, people of Israel. And it's tens of thousands of more demands.
Can you expand a little bit about how your work, Yad Ezra V'Shulamit, has expanded in the last year during the pandemic?
Well, we used to have 4 or 5 trucks. A year later, we're up to 10 trucks. We're literally doubled the amount of people, close to the amount, and we serve 47 cities across Israel. We have 80 location points where people either pick up or bring through volunteers, and people do pick up. So we're more than 200,000 people that we're going to be touching. 50,000 food baskets, food vouchers will be given out this year, have already mostly been given out, and still next few days to go.
And I'm guessing that it's still a long way to go.
Honestly, yes. It's an amazing and very difficult, what's the word for it? Just logistically way of being able to give out 50,000 food baskets and vouchers.
So what's in the Passover kit? What's included?
It's the regular staple items that you can imagine. Of course, it's boxes of matzah, grape juice, wine, eggs, chicken or vouchers for chickens. There's people in Britain who literally donate tens of thousands of the cost of chickens. Of course, fruits and vegetables, canned items, sugar, salt, mayonnaise, things like that.
Household goods.
Household goods, and people, for families who need it. And there are tens of thousands.
Huge difference, of course.
Big time.
So, all right, where can viewers go to donate? How can we help from home? And how many volunteers have you expanded to include?
Oh gosh, when you imagine like 47 cities and 80 location points, it's exploded. There were, certainly more than 1,000 volunteers, that's for sure.
Which shows an incredible, Israeli community.
Which has always been that way, as we see. Yad Ezra has been around for 25 years or so. We're looking, people to at least minimally donate a food basket. It's $100. A large basket is $160. It's on our website, yadezra.net. We need everybody's support. We're getting a lot of it, but we need more of it because of the exponential growth of the people who are the new poor, unfortunately, in Israel.
All right. Well, Shalom Zaidel, Yad Ezra V'Shulamit. Again, I'll tell everybody at home, go to yadezra.net and see if you can pitch in. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us, Aaron.
All right, now let's take a look at the weather forecast.
As of today, eye diseases and low vision impairment were approached from a purely optic perspective, treating only the eyes, resulting in partial success only. RevitalVision approaches vision impairments from a full perspective, addressing the brain as well. The company's products address the need of hundreds of millions of people worldwide suffering from different visual impairments and eye disease who until now had no effective alternative solution to improve their condition without surgery, risk, or medication. Yair Yahav is the CEO and founder of RevitalVision, and his former patient, Yarden Naveh, they join us now in studio. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So I want to start with you, Yair. There are a lot of technologies that are working on improving eyesight. What is unique about your technology, and what makes you so different from everything else out there?
There are several differentiation between our technologies and other technologies out there in the market. The vision depends on both how the image is captured by the optics, by the eye, and the visual processing in the brain. Our technology focuses only on improving brain visual processing. We are using a patented stimulation technique that is able to identify cortical deficits, specific cortical deficit, and provide very effective stimulation to those neurons and provide patient-specific program that works in most humans. We are able to effectively stimulate the brain visual cortex and improve vision. We are the only technology in the world that has FDA approval with efficacy claim to improve vision in adult with amblyopia, which is considered otherwise untreatable until the age of 9. And we are also effective in improving vision in various eye diseases, such as congenital nystagmus, which Yarden will share with you. Congenital nystagmus is a disease where there is constant uncontrollable movement of the eye, which leads to poor vision and many other visual impairments.
So why don't we turn over now to Yarden? It seems like an appropriate time. Why don't you tell me what was the problem that you had when you wanted to get this treatment, and where are you these days? Where are you now?
So I born with a nystagmus, which affect my vision, and all the eye doctors told me that I can't get a driving license. So I tried the program of RevitalVision, and after 3 months, I feel a major. I felt a major improvement. So I go to optometrist, and she told me that I have a big improvement, and I can get a driving license. And now I'm driving 2 years.
Within just 3 months of getting the treatment, you were able to have that much of an improvement that you could go get your driver's license?
Yes.
Wow.
And my dream came true.
Yair, we're really interested to know in what development RevitalVision is. What stage are we in? How can people get this treatment if that's really what they need and they're looking for?
So we have actually completed the product. We started initial sales in worldwide. We have been treated a few hundred patients with our new technology platform. We have completed the regulatory approval for our new technology platform, FDA approval, CE mark. We are also applied for a unique CPT code, treatment code, reimbursement code in the US. And we hope to have it soon. Right now we are fundraising. We are fundraising through PeopleBiz, which is a crowd funding platform. We are primarily raising funds for the marketing activities. We would like to bring it to the world so every ophthalmologist and optometrist would know about this technology, and of course for the public.
Great. Well, it sounds like a very important innovation. Thank you both for coming in today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we are finally seeing the fruit of the Abraham Accords in more ways than one. Over the weekend, a rugby match for what is being called the Abraham Accords Friendship Cup. Take a look.
The UAE and Israel played a friendly 7-a-side rugby match to compete for the Abraham Accords Friendship Cup, named after the agreement signed between the UAE and Israel last year. The Israeli team beat the Emiratis 33-0 before splitting into a blue team and another white team that involved mixing players from both teams into each. The jerseys for the second match had peace printed on the back in Arabic, English, and Hebrew.
It's the first time ever an Israeli national team is in the United Arab Emirates playing a national Emirati team. But much more than that, you're looking at the field now, you don't see two countries. you see two teams because each team is composed from players from both countries.
Head of the Emirati Rugby Federation, Mohammed Al Maktoum, said he hopes this would encourage federations from other sports to hold friendly matches with Israeli teams.
يجمع مباراة ودية بين المنتخب الإماراتي والمنتخب الإسرائيلي وهاي طبعا دائما البداية وهاي يعني هي مثل ما تقول الافتتاحية للاتحادات الأخرى إن شاء الله بعد أخواننا وزملائنا كلهم أنهم يختلطون ويلعبون مع المنتخب الإسرائيلي وهاي مباريات ودية راح تصير بالإمارات وبتصير في إسرائيل أيضا وإن دلت على شيء هي تدل على السلام بين الدولتين.
President of Israel's rugby union, Ofer Fabian, also said that the inter-squad match sends an important message of peace.
It was important for us and for our counterparts, our friends here in the Emirates, that not only do we play one against each other, but we play with each other. So in each team here, we have players from both teams actually playing together. And this is a true message of peace.
The UAE and Israel normalized ties in a Washington ceremony on September 15, 2020, brought together by shared concern about Iran. The Abraham Accords, which were also joined by Bahrain, have uncorked tourism and commerce between Israel and Gulf Arab countries.
Finally, for today, despite the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, repeating elections, high cost of living, and constant security threats, Israel has still been ranked as the 11th happiest nation in the world, according to the latest World Happiness Reports. And the ranking is a notable increase from 2020, when the country ranked 14th place. But due to the pandemic, the data was also compiled differently this year. For one, researchers were unable to do face-to-face interviews in several countries, and the correlation between COVID-19 and overall well-being became the main focus for most respondents. Still, various other factors were taken into account in determining the measure of well-being, including GDP per capita, life expectancy, social support, freedom to make life choices, generosity, corruption perception, and trust in government institutions. The United States, meanwhile, is now at number 14, beating out Canada in 15th place, and the most unhappy country, unfortunately, is Afghanistan, retaining its place at the bottom of the list at number 149. And that's it for ILTV's Weekly Review. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next week.